Yes, and this is where it gets serious right here. The BAM is on. Now, I'm gonna show you people because I tell you all the time that the peoples, the elite peoples, you understand, the ones that issue everything, the one that give you the food that you eat and everything, they're the one who create your DNA. They basically turn it into the way they want it right here. No doubt about it. And you disbelieve me? It's chemical they use to shift that shit. You better wake your ass up and we go get into it. And I'm gonna show you some videos and break it down with the so-called genes. How they gonna so-called change your designer genes. You understand? They're gonna design babies, design human beings, and don't worry about it. It's something that they've been doing on the masses. They kind of let it out. No, this is how they mock the masses in plain sight. This is something that they do, people. That's what we call lab babies. But of course, wow, GMOs, baby, bam. Let's get in it.
After 10,000 years of genetic manipulation via selective breeding, humans finally gained direct access to the genetic code.
To the genetic codes. You see that, people? They finally get the access to the genetic code, and that's why they can multiply everything, basically. You see that? Watch this.
Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA.
See that? Bam! DNA. You understand? Of course, they so-called crack the codes, but it's something that they know from day one. Of course, all they have to do is just implement it on the masses.
Since then, we've cut and pasted it.
See?
Photocopy.
Cut and paste. You understand? That means they can make it what it is. Cut, paste, and copy.
Fragments of it en masse. Sped read it with sequences. Printed out the code, letter by letter in the lab.
Yes.
Modelled it on computers, and measured it with microscopes. For 40 years now, we've called this work genetic engineering. The trouble is that while there's been an extraordinary amount of genetic discovery and manipulation, there's been precious little engineering. Engineers are frustrated by genetics and molecular biology. The experiments are too slow, the complexity too messy, and growing more so all the time, and there's a frustrating lack of standardised components.
Okay.
They'd like to do to genetic engineering what engineers have done since the Stone Age. Collect, refine, and repackage nature so that it's easier to make new and...
You understand that, people? As you could see, they form the pyramid, but you get what they're saying. It's the same thing they're doing with human beings. Don't wonder where there's ugly creatures that you see on TV, where the fuck they come from. Don't worry about it.
Liable things. Engineers want to treat DNA more like a programming language.
Yes.
Instead of ones and zeros, A's, T's, G's, and C's.
There you go, people. That's why they give you this code for DNA. You understand? They can take out that red right there and add something else. They can take out this green and everything. It's all the same. You understand? They show you in pieces and they basically can manipulate it.
DNA to write simple, Lego-like functional components. Inspired by, but not found in nature. And then run them to write simple, Lego-like functional components. Inspired by, but not found in nature.
You understand? Inspired by nature, but don't found in nature. Of course.
And then run them in a cell instead of a computer.
Yes.
The only difference is this software builds its own hardware. They call this re-engineered genetic engineering synthetic biology.
You see, synthetic, people. This is what they're giving the human being to eat. And I told you, now they're gone far with it further. Now they're doing human being. You understand? They call it designer genes. Yes, so-called perfect, the genetic DNA. Make sure it's perfect. Put it together and make a human being. You think I'm playing?
Nowadays, rather than cut and paste the DNA sequence out of one organism and into another, you can, if you know what you're doing, just type your DNA sequence into a computer, or copy it from a database, or even select from a growing component catalogue. And then you just order it over the internet. Yes, really. The DNA sequence may be copied from nature, but the DNA itself is made by a machine. It's synthetic.
All day. So there you go. Synthetic DNA.
The raw material for synthesizing DNA is sugar. $25 of which will buy you enough to make a copy of every human genome on the planet. The chemical letters are fed into the DNA equivalent of an industrial inkjet printer.
You see what I showed
In
you?
goes your sequence information, and out comes DNA, at a cost of less than 40 cents per base pair, and getting cheaper all the time. It's then freeze-dried and shipped to your door. Already engineers have assembled an open-source catalogue of over 5,000 standardised components, called BioBricks. At an annual worldwide do-it-yourself competition, university students build new and more complex BioBricks, string them together, and then run them inside a much-studied intestinal bacteria, E. coli.
There you go, people. E. coli. The bacteria that you're so-called scared of. You see what they do with it? And don't worry about it. I already told you, people. Everything they so-called giving you good is so-called come from bad. Of course, it never get to good.
Sure, they're toy projects with shoestring budgets, but the results are impressive. E. chromi. An E. coli with sensitivity tuner and colour generators is programmed to turn one of 5 colours when it detects a certain concentration of an environmental toxin. E. coloid is a bacterial system which switches on and off in response to red light and acts like a bacterial Polaroid camera. Groups with more time and a lot more money are rewriting, or call it in computer programming, refactoring, whole systems.
What they're doing now.
Jay Kiesling, chemical and biological engineer,
You see? Chemical and biological engineer have to use chemical to do all of this shit that they're doing.
and his team at UC Berkeley have built and continually refined a new metabolic pathway in yeast by assembling 10 genes.
Yes. And don't worry about it. They show up the mosquito right there because they have a lot to do with it. You understand? They're poison mosquitoes that they sent out from the damn lab.
From 3 organisms
There you go.
in an attempt to produce synthetically the anti-malarial drug artemisinin, and to do it cheaply enough to treat up to 200 million malaria sufferers each year.
Bullshit on the masses. 100% in. There you go.
Biotechnology pioneer Craig Venter has gone even further.
Pioneer again.
His team has entirely replaced the DNA of one bacterium with a synthetic copy of DNA from another naturally occurring species.
So that's why you can never trust this DNA shit, people. Of course, I know you're sending your DNA all over the place to find out about your ancestors. Of course, it's another part of the New World Order to get everybody DNA on record. That's how they're doing it. Yes, come on.
Have you ever dreamt of having awesome superhuman powers like the X-Men? With recent improvements in gene therapy, the reality of having designer babies is closer than ever. But this begs the question, if you are having a child, would you want to pick and choose their traits? Is this...
You hear that, people? You hear that, right? They can cut and fit and make you a perfect baby. You understand? You hear them mention the X-Man and all of that shit? I already told you, people. Where you think they get those so-called outstanding athletes from? Where do you think they do? How you think they get them? And have a fucked up feet like Shaq and LeBron James and them. What you think? You better wake your ass up. That's what they do.
even ethical? And how far can the use of these technologies actually go? Remember, we post chosen to provide the...
Hold on. Get
Back
it
to the
right.
video. The phrase designer baby refers to one whose genetic makeup has been altered or chosen to provide the desired genome. There are
You hear that? Are chosen. Makeup are chosen, people, to make the baby to become what you want it to be.
currently 3 technologies that have been developed to enable this, all of which involve manipulating fertilized eggs before in vitro fertilization. The first one is called
You hear
pre-implant.
that, people? Manipulating fertilized egg. And that's how they do it right there. That's where they start, because it's 3. You see it? Let's go.
All of which involve manipulating fertilized eggs before in vitro fertilization. The first one is called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. This is the simplest of the 3 methods and doesn't involve any gene editing. Instead, it involves choosing between viable eggs for the one that best satisfies what the parents want. For example, it can be used to screen for diseases or even to predetermine gender. The second one
See? Even to predetermine genders. You see that? So now they're gonna so-called switch the gender before or make it whatever you want it. Right there. You see what it is? Designer babies.
is talons, transcription activator-like effector nucleases. These are enzymes that can be
See what I
designed
was telling you about the DNA. That's why they make it in parts. Because yes, they can remove and fit in to make it what it is. You see what it is? I wasn't lying. I told you, people, they make up your DNA with the food that you eat and everything around you. That's what it is.
To remove specific parts of the DNA strands. They then replace this section, thus allowing edits to be made. In theory, this technique can be used to target any section of DNA and has been used to design plants, fuels, and even pets to certain specifications.
Wow, you see it? Wow, and of course, people, that's how they do it. Pets. Wow, and everybody know already. I already did the dog video and show you. Even though it pisses a lot of people off, they have to wake up to the truth. A lot of those fancy dogs that you see, they just make them. That's all they do, create it. And of course, plants. Yes, the ones that you're running down, vegetarian and all. They get you caught up, and now they got you right where they want you. And the fluid, don't even worry about it. It's just a trickery. It's just chemical they mix up for fluid. You don't understand. You think they get it from the ground? What are you talking about? Dead plants and animals make fluid? Dumb on.
Third one is CRISPR, which stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats, and it's a process that was discovered in the DNA sequence of certain bacteria. Their DNA contains snippets of the DNA of viruses that have previously attacked them to allow them to recognize any threat in the future. The method by which this new DNA becomes a part of their own has been replicated to allow the modification of other DNA strands. This again, in theory, allows edits to be made to any part.
All this manipulation of DNA and all of this experiment they're running is satanic work on earth, and believe it or not, a lot of people never get it, but it's a mission. You never get it. They're gonna transform the whole humanity in the style that they want them. They make them how they want them. Right here. That's a beginning of the New World Order right here.
Of the genome. So can these methods be used on humans? Of these three, only the use of pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is already being used for human pregnancies, with the first known case being as early as 1988. There remain
1988, but I already told you people, this is something that they've been doing, making kids how they want it, and then they bring them out and say, hey, this is do whoop, whoop, whoop. And of course you don't know where they come from, and make you a mom and a dad and everything else, and plaster it all over the TV, and people take it and run. But of course it's made up characters. They're made of embryos and eggs that don't belong to them. You understand? Of course.
It's a long way to go before the other two methods are deemed safe enough for human use. And as far as we know, there have not yet been any uses on a human embryo, despite only one of these methods being
bullshit, people. That's something that they've been doing. And I told you, they synthetically make it. Just like I show you everything that they made fakery from scratch with chemical. It's the same thing they're gonna do to make the baby. It's not coming from a woman. The eggs and the sperm not coming from a man. All of it. GMOs.
Currently used, there are a number of options that are available to parents. Eggs can be screened for gender, appearance, intelligence, disease, and personality.
Wow.
Of these,
intelligence. You can scan the egg for intelligence. Wow. And disease. It's bullshit, people. Even our parents.
the most common type of screening is for diseases, particularly for couples who are at high risk of passing them on to their offspring. Screening for other aspects remain highly controversial and in most countries illegal. Crucially, this technique
There you go. They can do it. They can? Of course they can.
doesn't allow the editing of the genome, but the ability to choose between already viable eggs and decide which one to proceed with during pregnancy. Another emerging technology is that of three-person babies. This is a procedure that means a baby
Person baby.
has three genetic parents, with the third person providing the mitochondrial DNA. This can prevent the development of issues such as muscular dystrophy and certain heart and liver conditions. So, what are the future possibilities for designer babies? As scientists perfect techniques of genetic manipulation, especially those of TALENs and CRISPR, the possibilities that become unlocked are theoretically endless.
Talent and CRISPR. And of course, that's the name they use. They call CRISPR baby. That's the term they use. And we go get closer.
It would become possible to design every part of the genome, whether it's eye color.
Wow, hair color, this every fucking thing. Are you kidding me? What do you mean more advanced?
Hair color, disease resistance, or far more advanced traits. What if you could increase brain function, muscle mass, or eyesight? Lifespans could be lengthened.
Wow, people, muscle mass, even muscle mass, eyesight, wow.
Or perhaps new human abilities could be developed. So much.
Even new human ability can be developed. I told you they've been doing this dumb shit right here. Can't make no superhuman, but it will make it more friskier than a regular person. That's all it is. You
So,
understand?
that creating real-life X-Men could come within the realm of possibility. But we have to wonder, how will this change society? While regulations prohibit these types of changes, the technology will become so prevalent that more complex designer babies are sure to happen at some point. There are clear benefits to this. It would reduce genetic and inherited diseases or conditions. The child would have a better chance to succeed in life, lifespans would increase, and children could be given genes that their parents don't possess. But
Wow, there you go, people. This is what they want to sell the masses. Designer jeans. Bam on.
So what if I could make for you a designer baby? What if you as a parent-to-be and I as a scientist decided to go down that road together?
Wow. A scientist and the masses. I told you they do the devil work. A lot of people don't want to accept the bitter truth. But the scientist is a fucking mind blower. Basically brainwash the people every chance he get. And of course I told you, don't never trust them. Here go another satanic work. Designer baby. Here you go.
What if we didn't? What if we thought that's a bad idea? But many of our family friends.
And why you think they do the TEDx right there? You see the X? X is number 6 right there. And I told you, it's just a devil work they put on. Right
and
there.
coworkers did make that decision. Let's fast forward just 15 years from now. Let's pretend it's the year 2030.
Of course, 15, number 6, and here we go. Year 2030, all Freemason coding.
And you're a parent. You have your daughter, Marion, next to you. And in 2030, she is what we call a natural because she has no genetic modifications.
Yes, so
Because she has no genetic modifications.
so that go change.
And because you and your partner consciously made that decision, many in your social circle, they kind of look down on you. They think you're like a Luddite or a technophobe.
Wow, so later on, he's saying 15 years from now, they go be looking down on you if you don't have that thing done where you can make your baby the way you want it. Perfect.
Marion's best friend Jenna, who lives right next door, is a very different story. She was born a genetically modified designer baby with numerous
Genetic modified. Wow, designer baby. Where they going with these people? I told you, devil world you're living. Wake up.
upgrades. Yeah, upgrades.
Upgrades, yes, like a fucking phone. Yes, you have to get an upgrade with the kid.
And these enhancements were introduced using a new genetic modification technology that goes by the funny name CRISPR. You know, like
There
something
you go, CRISPR. You see that? Listen to the how he explain it.
crisp. This is CRISPR.
Wow.
The scientists that Jenna's parents hired to do this for several $1 million.
For several $1 million, you have to hire scientists to do this. Wow, this is a dumbed down trick for the masses.
Introduced CRISPR into a whole panel of human embryos. And then they used genetic testing, and they predicted that that little tiny embryo, Jenna's embryo, would be the best of the bunch. And now, Jenna is an actual real person. She's sitting on the carpet in your living room, playing with your daughter, Marion. And your families have known each other for years now. And it's become very clear to you.
And if you notice, people, all the sodomites that come on this TEDx, they always telling these stories to introduce the fucking fakery and the masses are the new world order. They're telling these stories, giving it name and everything, and laid out like a damn storybook for you to buy it. And of course, they found it in your emotion right here.
Jenna is extraordinary.
Yes.
She's incredibly intelligent. If you're honest with yourself, she's smarter than you. And she's 5 years old.
Yes.
She's beautiful, tall, athletic. And the
Beautiful, tall, and athletic. We're talking about a 5-year-old. All right.
list goes on and on. And in fact, there's a whole new generation of these GM kids like Jenna. And so far,
But I tell you, people, that's all they bring to Hollywood is GMO's kid. You understand? Of course, that's what it is. Wow, they got busted, people.
looks like they're healthier than their parents' generation, than your generation. And they have lower healthcare costs.
And they got no vaccine, right?
They're immune to a host of health conditions, including HIV, AIDS, and genetic diseases.
Why? You give them no vaccine, right?
All sounds so great. But you can't help but have this sort of unsettling feeling, a gut feeling, that there's something just not quite right about Jenna. And you've had the same feeling about other GM kids that you've met.
Kids.
You were also reading in the newspaper earlier this week that a study of these children who were born as designer babies indicates they may have some issues like increased aggressiveness and narcissism. But more immediately on your mind is some news that you just got from Jenna's family. She's so smart. She's now going to be going to a special school, a different school.
A special school. She's too smart for regular people. Wow.
And your daughter, Marion. And this has kind of thrown your family into a disarray. Marion's been crying. And last night, when you took her to bed to kiss her goodnight, she said, "Daddy, will Jenna even be my friend anymore?" So now, as I've been telling you this...
So do you understand what this fucker saying? If your kid is not a GMO baby, yes, it's gonna be sad when you see the other GMO baby. So you never wanna be left behind. So you need to get it done. That's what it is. You're listening or what?
Imagine 2030 story. I have a feeling that I may have put some of you into this like sci-fi frame of reference, right? You think you're reading a sci-fi book or maybe like in Halloween, mode of thinking. But this is really a possible reality for us just 15 years from now.
It's something that they've been doing, people. 100%.
Stem cell and genetics researcher. And I can see this new CRISPR technology and its potential impact. And we may find ourselves in that reality. And a lot will depend on what we decide to do today. And if you're still kind of thinking in sci-fi mode, consider that the world of science had a huge shock.
Don't worry about it. We already know what the fuck you call science. It's mostly science fiction y'all sell to the masses. The rest of it is devil work.
Earlier this year, and the public largely doesn't even know about it. Researchers in China just a few months ago reported the creation of genetically modified human embryos. This was the first time in history.
I already did a video on it and show you with the so-called baby. The first so-called baby that genetically fucking created. And I told you already, people, you can never listen to these sodomites to bring you to the new world order. You understand? That's what they spit on you. It's not real. I told you already, the babies that they made is what they give you in Hollywood. That's not something that they hand down to the public. That's why they tell you it costs millions and millions of dollars to get it done. It's not for the normal people. They're just basically spilling it a little bit and give you that fantasy to think about for a little bit. But I told you, that's what they do. And the masses catch me on the run. I'm gone.